which is what causes the complications of diabetes.
When the body can't break down sugar, it has to store it somewhere. That storage comes in the form of fat.
On top of that, your liver, it's always producing sugar, extra sugar that's just dumping into your bloodstream.
Insulin tells the liver when to release that sugar. Just one more job, the hormone won't do well if the body doesn't have.
It's the afternoon of Monday, July 7th, and we can't let our guards down in San Antonio in the Hill Country for additional flooding. I'm going to go ahead and bring up the authority radar for you here. And you can see as of about 1:30 this afternoon, it is quiet in San Antonio in the Hill Country, but we are starting to see the sun. And the sun is actually not our friend in a situation like this because it can act as fuel.
Live from KSAT 12, the 6 o'clock news starts right now.
Search and rescue still the main focus of efforts in Kerr County 3 days after the waters of the Guadalupe River rose beyond its banks, creating a destructive and deadly wall of water that overtook everything in its path.
You know that one of the hardest hit areas, the city of Kurville, that's within Kerr County, where leaders say 84 people have died so far, but they still don't know exactly how many people are still missing. You see her there. Myra Arthur is in Ingram as resources are aligned to find more victims and also help survivors.
Yeah, Myra will be checking in with you in just a moment, but first we want to run down the numbers, what officials have released so far about the Hill Country floods. As we mentioned, at least 90 people have died in the floods. This number includes the 84 people we lost in Kerr County and the 6 confirmed deaths in Kendall County. Leaders have confirmed that at Camp Mystic in Hunt, 27 campers and counselors are confirmed dead.
We know that 10 campers and another counselor are still missing. In addition, at least 10 other deaths have been reported in other Texas counties. And until 7 o'clock tonight, we know that the Hill Country is under a flood watch. Now, the tragedy in the Hill Country has drawn the attention of the nation and the world, really. Just yesterday, Pope Leo XVI prayed for the families in the entire state of Texas, and many others in different countries have also been moved to act.
Yeah, a specialized search team from Mexico in Kerr County using their skills to help in the recovery operation. Myra joined us again from Ingram. Myra, you were able to speak with a team member.
I was from that team from Mexico. They were here where we're standing to get a hot meal today, to take a moment of respite, to refuel for this painstaking work that they are doing to try to reunite families with those that are still missing tonight. So we're here at City West Church, and I have to tell you, this parking lot is full, but this is the calmest we have seen it all day, and that's because it's dinner time. And the mission here is to cook hot meals for those first responders, for those volunteers who are out going through all of this destruction and devastation to try to bring families some answers and some closure. And all those people who were cooking those meals, they've gone out and they've delivered them. That's where they are at this hour. That team you mentioned from Mexico, they are Fundion 911 Mexico. I talked with Ismael Aldaba, who was actually born and raised in San Antonio. He talked to me about what brought them here today and how they became part of this effort crossing the border to be here. Take a listen. Tell me about how the team ended up responding to this particular emergency. When did you all jump in and how did you get here?
We have a coordination with EquiSearch, which is a horse search and rescue team. We assisted them in Del Rio, Texas last year for a U.S. citizen that overturned in his boat. We were there for days and helped them, and we created a relationship with him. Just the same as we're creating a relationship with the local departments like Mountain Home, which is our sponsoring fire department right now.
How many guys do you have out here helping?
A total of 15 guys, 15 people.
And what all have you all been doing?
Mainly searching within the water and riverbanks, some of the removal process to try to find, obviously cadavers and such, where we're trying to to assist the local teams to locate. They did one recovery today, so that was helpful to know they're going back now to continue in that area.
What's it like being able to have this as a resource, as a pit stop, to fill up your belly, to take some breaks, and to be able to recharge? This is something we do not see in Mexico. I had mentioned it earlier. This structure that is being provided by all the people from this area that are helping and assisting, all the fire departments that are responding, the state of Texas doing all the help and its thing and its coordination, it's something we don't see. You know, hearing Ismael's perspective on that, the level of coordination that we have seen, the amount of volunteers that are coming from every corner of Texas to be here, you know, that's something that I think that we can't take for granted. You heard him say this is not something that they see in Mexico, but obviously that team compelled to come to this country, compelled because of their own close ties to the state of Texas, with the director, of course, as I mentioned, being from San Antonio. They wanted to be here. They wanted to help. We showed you some of the really incredible video where they're using canoes and they're using ropes to, you know, one hand after the other, pull team members across on some of these islands that have now been created to go through all of the debris, all of the tree limbs, all of the brush and everything that rushed down the river with those raging waters. They are part of this massive effort to search through every bit of it to try to bring these families some answers. We're going to join you again here live from Ingram coming up later in the show. But for now, Steve and Stefania, I'll send it back to you.
Yeah, help knows no border. That's certainly what we saw with that team from Mexico. Thank you, Myra.
So amid the devastation, you see hope in the people who are in the flood-ravaged areas. Right now, people getting together, pitching in to help.
Hey, Garrett Berger in Hunt with what he's seen firsthand. Garrett.
There's a phrase on the window behind me, Texans helping Texans. That's from a group of people who are coming up from Rockport. They're cooking food over here in Hunt, Texas. Now, this isn't an organization. It's not a nonprofit. They say they're just people who got hit by Hurricane Harvey. They got help from people around Texas, including here in the Hill Country. Now they're doing their part. It's just one way, or one example of what we've seen of people trying to pick themselves back up over here and getting a hand from near and far.
There's been a much-needed break in the rain today, but recovery is just starting. Like many in Hunt, Bonnie Spillers had to flee the July 4th flooding.
And within 25 minutes, we had 12 inches in the house. It rose very fast.
But the donations and relief have come in fast as well, filling up spots like the Hunt Baptist Church.
I cannot believe the volume of food and water and clothing and everything.
Where are these all coming from?
All over the place. They have people from San Antonio, Houston, a lot of people from Kurville. It's just, you name it, they have brought it in.
There are tables of food and cleaning products, pews full of clothes, stacks of bottled water. Pastor John Collis says most of what they have is coming from private donations.
It's just people calling up and saying, how can we help? What can we bring? People showing up, backing up. And
so much, they worried they might have too much.
Not a lot of people knew we were here, but now they're finding out. We have a pretty steady stream of people coming in and finding us, telling people don't go to Walmart, come here.
Start an assembly line here.
Running water is still an issue, making bottled water especially dear. Cases upon cases are stacked at the Hunt Volunteer Fire Department.
You can't flush the toilet, you can't brush your teeth. I mean, there's no water. So as much bottled water as we can receive, that's what we're taking in.
The fire chief also says they haven't had to ask for help. It's been freely given.
It's incredible. It brings back trust in humanity.
Members of the Purple Heart Project showed up Monday with water and hot food. The question for many isn't if they should help.
This is the right thing to do. You know, gotta help everybody out. We're all together in it, so.
People willing to donate necessities, money, time, or even a ride.
When I'm done here, I will drive you out there. I've got a four-wheel drive.
Because the buildings don't make a community, the people do.
You need to get out there, and there's medication.
Now, if you want to volunteer or donate, there's some information on your screen. Officials have asked people who want to volunteer, check in with the Red Cross. Give them a call at 830-465-4797, or you can visit them in Kurville at 855 Hayes Street. Check in, see how you can help out. You can also donate cash to the Community Foundation of the Texas Hill Country through its website, is www.communityfoundation.net. As we see, people have already in their own ways, tried to help out. It's a reflexive instinct, and it's one we can be proud of, that we're seeing it from so many of our neighbors here in Texas. Live in Hunt, I'm Garrett Berger, KSAT 12 News.
Thank you, Garrett. Just want to clarify, he said Red Cross, he meant Salvation Army. The Salvation Army in Kurville is helping out and coordinating the volunteer efforts.
And as we continue to cover the story, we're hearing so many stories about what people have encountered little by little, and we're getting an idea as to how awful it was, what they had to deal with. More than 100 people safely made it out of the River Inn along the banks of the Guadalupe and Hunt after that place took on water early Friday morning. That's about 1 mile from Camp Mystic. 130 plus people were saved there. In fact, bed sheets had to be used in some cases to help with the rescue.
Yeah, to hoist people up. Dylan Collier spent the day speaking with survivors and a couple being hailed as heroes. Dylan joins us live from Ingram. Dylan.
And this was one resort that had an evacuation plan, but when the rising water squashed those efforts, an audible was called that saved lives. On the south shore of the Guadalupe River, this is what's left of the River Inn Resort and Conference Center. This line, a clear reminder that walls and doors were no match for the raging floodwaters early Friday. Connie Towery and her husband Scott have lived on property for 5 years. Connie awoke before 2 a.m. and knew this storm was different.
It was like if you were standing underneath a waterfall and it's just going straight over.
Connie, Scott, and the property's owner went door to door, waking up around 130 people staying in the resort's 60 rooms.
Beat on doors, got people out, and told them to load and go.
Some literally ran for the hills.
And that's when we knew, oh no, we can't get up the hill anymore.
While up to 50 people were blocked by the rising waters and had to seek refuge on the roof of the mill house, a 2-story structure at the back of the property. Bed sheets were used like rescue ropes to pull victims to a rooftop safe haven. Scott's legs battered by debris while lifting others out of harm's way.
In the background, you could hear this intense train of water.
Sadly, we are told that one woman staying at the resort was swept away by the floodwaters and as of tonight is still unaccounted for. An engineer will go to the property in the coming days and a decision will then be made on what to do out there. Reporting live in the Hill Country tonight, Dylan Collier, KSAT 12 News.
It's just one of those iconic spots you think of when you go to Hunt and outside Hunt as you go along the Guadalupe River. Dylan Collier live. Thank you, Dylan.
So we heard from people, or some of our people, Myra Arthur, Ingram, Hunt, and all of these places. But we just said a while ago that some parts are under a flood watch. Let's send things on over to Adam Caskey. What's going on with that right now?
Well, no flood warnings in place. We're just watching out for the potential for some flash flooding. Primary risk would be to travel on the roadways in the typically flood-prone areas. Now, you look at authority radar, nothing in the Hill Country, not much even along the Guadalupe River. And what we're looking at here locally is just a few downpours, particularly along I-10, 1604. These are pushing northward, and they're actually pretty brief in nature. They don't sit over one spot for very long, which is good. So they're splash and dash, they move out. But some of these could still drop about 2 to 4 inches of rain, possibly even more. And if there were to be any flash flooding right now, there's no warning, but if there would be, it'd be between Jourdanton, Poteet, and Somerset in northern Atascosa County. We're watching some of these showers train or follow each other. But look at the life cycle. Over the past hour, the area is shrinking. This is through about 9-10 p.m. Quiet night. We'll talk about tomorrow and more chances in a bit.
Thank you, Adam. Let's check out the roadways right now around San Antonio. Let's go to 410 Harry Wurzbach. Pretty good idea of the heavy rainfall that has hit especially downtown San Antonio, but also a little farther out, 410 and Harry Wurzbach. You can see the rain has definitely hit that area.
Glad that drivers are giving each other enough space there. So now here's a live look with our camera right there. You see the gray skies there in the distance, 85 degrees right now. Our meteorologist Adam Caskey is going to join us with a full forecast when we come back after the break.
Something happening tonight. If you want to show your support for the people who are suffering so much in the Hill Country, Central San Antonio hosting a candlelight vigil in downtown to honor and remember those lost in the deadly flooding. It's happening at 8:30 tonight at Travis Park. During the vigil, Central San Antonio will be collecting donations and essential items for families affected by the floods. If you've been trying to find a way to support or to offer some type of help, this might be for you. Again, it's tonight at 8:30.
All right, and you know, we're still talking now about rain, Adam.
Yeah, we are. We have some ongoing downpours and even more chances in the days ahead. And I want to point this out first, the rain chances in the days ahead. Tomorrow, another 40% chance, so scattered in nature, 40% of south central Texas likely to get hit. But I do think it favors locations near to just outside of the Hill Country, but still the Hill Country, we need to be on guard for a quick downpour or two. Wednesday, 30% chance, finally just sunny and dry for Thursday and Friday. And then this weekend, some of those stray isolated pop-up showers, and Monday we boosted it back to 40%. So let's take a look at authority radar at the moment. And these showers and storms, they've been dissipating as they get into northern Kerr County. Let me show you the trend over the past hour. And you see how they're nice and heavy and have a lot of lightning with them, particularly near Schertz here. And right along I-10 and 1604. If they get that lightning, that's when they're at the strongest, when they have the most amount of lightning strikes. And then you see that the lightning strikes go away. What I mean by the lightning strikes is those white lines on the radar. You see those white lines those are the cloud to ground lightning strikes. So bottom line, just like what we were here talking about yesterday, they have a fairly short life cycle, which is the opposite of what we had on the morning of July 4th. So these are at least progressive, splash and dash, and don't last as long. That said, they could still cause some flash flooding, and the typically flood prone areas, low water crossings could get some high water. That's why we have that flood watch in effect. And I mean, wouldn't surprise me if we have another one tomorrow. Atascosa County has seen the most rain, and this is what I mean by some of those bullseyes of rain. Look at this. Look at Atascosa County. And the yellows, this indicates 2 inches of rain. So just outside of Charlotte, let's look at that, 2.9 inches, just a few miles, just 12 miles outside of the city of Charlotte. If that were somewhere else, that's more flood prone, you could see what would happen. So this is what we're talking about with the potential of these downpours leading to flash flooding. But the coverage today, luckily, has not been anywhere in the Hill Country nor Kerr County. But I do want to point something else out. Let's look at the 5-day rainfall totals. Okay, we know it's been significant, and in Kerr County, we had upwards of 12, 13 inches of rain in a short period of time the morning of July 4th to cause the catastrophic flooding. But up to the north, along the Colorado River, San Geronimo River, look at these totals over the past few days. Just outside of Marble Falls, 21 inches of rain. These are Doppler radar estimates, but they're pretty good and pretty accurate with our new radar information from NOAA, National Weather Service, and the research and development they've done over the past few years to implement this new data. So that's led to the high water, of course, along the lakes and the lower Colorado River, and they've been keeping people off those waterways. Luckily, Lake Travis was pretty much just as empty as Canyon Lake at about 46% full, and it absorbed that push of water and is really able to take it. Okay, really quick look at our future cast as we get into tomorrow. It's going to be just like today with a quiet morning, even this evening, those downpours dissipating by 9, 10 o'clock. Quiet tonight, quiet tomorrow morning. It's once that sun comes up and starts heating us up, that's when we destabilize and start to see those downpours pop up. So from about 3 p.m., notice here, first downpours, not exactly necessarily in northern Kerr County, but could be anywhere on the map. 3 p.m. through 9 p.m., that's where we have the potential for more scattered, and the likelihood, really, of more scattered downpours. We'll be back in just a few minutes with more.
Story after story, we hear how the floods came under the cover of night. Many jolted out of their sleep by cries for help or rising water surrounding them.
Can't even imagine that. Rowan Belogan is in Kurville along Arcadia Loop. That's where families are welcoming them into their own homes to share their experience. Rowan, tell us what you're hearing there.
Yeah, hearing so much that happened in a matter of minutes. Up and down the road here, we've been speaking with people and seeing similar pictures just like this off to the side of the road. We have furniture, picture frames, mattresses, all memories that have now turned into trash as so many people in the area are holding on to each other just a little tighter. This is what the Compost family home looked like a day after the Guadalupe River swept through the area. The patriarch of the family heard a noise early Friday morning, alerting him to the rushing water. Here's his son, Juan, explain it.
We had a vehicle sitting right here, and I guess the current just pushed it all up and scraped against the back, and I guess that's when my father heard, and then we just all got out.
The vehicle scraping along the side of the home woke him up, the family all rushing out. They spent the entire weekend and into today cleaning. But their minds, like so many across the country, are on the families waiting for answers.
It was pretty intense. Like, I'm pretty sure my little one was all shooken up. She was just mostly tired, so we just threw in. Yeah, it was really hectic. But I'm just happy everyone got safe. But my heart goes out to all the ones that really couldn't make it out, especially the ones that were camped out in Hunt.
And the Compost family here left about 45 minutes ago to stay with relatives as they, like so many others here, are trying to figure out their next steps. Reporting live from Belogan. Back to you.
Thank you, Rowan. When tragedy hits, people in our community ask the same thing. What can I do to help? The Ecumenical Center has an answer. The center not only accepting donations, but preparing thoughtful comfort kits for both kids and first responders.
Sounds really nice. Comfort kits, right? Courtney Friedman got to build some of those kits today, and right now she's going to show us their purpose.
Comfort boxes filled with love at the Ecumenical Center, bound for Hill Country families who have lost so much.
Okay, so let's build one. So part of what we want to put into the comfort kits are things for them to do. So let's put a box of crayons in.
Okay.
And then very importantly, we want to make sure they have a comfort toy.
Yeah.
And so we have several different ones. Here's a little doggy.
Oh, I love it.
Pick one.
Oh, this is cute. Okay.
Yeah. Bubbles are interesting, but what they remind us to do is to breathe. We want to make sure and include a journal because these are going to all ages. What those inner thoughts are, those fears, they can write about it, and that helps to lighten our loads. And then we have note cards, and these are really important. This is saying, I'm thinking of you.
Volunteers put together first responder kits too. Socks, cleaning and hygiene items, but also mental health booklets and journals.
Affecting their own well-being and mental health as they're doing such an important job.
They're seeing things that
no one should ever have to see.
The bags will be taken directly to the heroes in the field. Meanwhile, next door, community members hauled in their own donations.
Food, some new clothing, and we've got Dove soaps, Clorox items.
Why did you feel the need to come donate today?
Because my parents lived in Kurville for 30 years. And so that was their community, and so we just needed to donate.
Yes, watching it, you're heartbroken. Want to know what you can do, and this is the least we can do.
We're just glad to be able to help a little.
Courtney Friedman, KSAT 12 News.
We'll be right back and head back to Ingram after the break.
It's impossible to overstate the togetherness that we're seeing all up and down the hill country as we continue to deal with this, the devastation, the fallout from this devastating flood. You know, we're seeing things, hope, togetherness, unity, just wonderful things that we're seeing even in the face of all of this tragedy.
Yeah, and some things you wouldn't expect to see, like, I don't know, a trolley at a flood area. Myra, explain that a little bit for people that may have missed this particular guy and his brother, right, who came from Kyle.
Yes, so this, we first told you about it at 5 o'clock, and I failed to mention that this is a guy who saw what was going on, like you mentioned, from Kyle, drove down here. This is his trolley. He uses this normally to sell ice cream and hot chocolate. That's what it's used for. It's something he bought years ago just to put smiles on people's faces. You pull in this lot where this City West Church is, and it's become a real staging area to get hot meals out to first responders and volunteers who are doing the incredible work we need them to do right now. And there's, you know, a lot of mobile kitchens, big 18-wheelers, trucks. This obviously caught our eye, this trolley. And I asked Michael McKenzie, who operates this, I said, why did you come here? How did you plan on using that? And he said he really didn't have a plan. He just saw what was going on. He drove this down here with his brother in Christ, somebody from his church, and they started loading things up. They partnered with Mercy Chefs that are making these hot meals, and they were taking them out a couple times a day, lunch and dinner. Here's what he told us that looks like. We just missed you after you did a big lunchtime run, but tell me, when you're taking these meals out, how is this place packed? I mean, what are you taking with you when you're headed out to some of these sites?
Lots of meals, socks. I know that they were needing socks down in the main disaster area, ground zero, you know, and it stretches for miles. Like 3 persons coming together. Yeah. So it's not one person, it's not anyone, it's glorifying God. It really is. And just being a vessel. It is powerful, but sometimes you gotta be the one that steps in and just goes for it.
And there's a lot of people who are pitching in and doing just what Michael is intending to do out here. We saw so many volunteers. I saw a lot of families, honestly, moms and dads with their kids, some as young as I would guess 9 or 10 years old, who were helping out and just boxing up meal after meal, a huge assembly line inside the City West Church. They also told me that as big as this church is, they are full of donations. They are running out of space. We have seen U-Haul after U-Haul being pulled up here. This operation is going to continue as long as needed, but really it's something to watch because there are so many personal vehicles out here. There were people who just said, hey, I'm not even signed up to help, but I'm coming tomorrow. Even if the volunteer shift is full, I'm coming tomorrow. And that's something that I think has given a lot of people a lot of hope here in Ingram, in Hunt, in the Kurville area, and really across the state of Texas as we're all dealing with this news. Stephen, Stephania.
So heartwarming to see all of that. Thank you so much for that, Myra. We'll check in with you in a bit.
90 people killed by the floodwaters in the Guadalupe River.
Yeah, that's the latest official number that's been released by officials. And the people that you see on your screen there are just a few of the victims. We're talking about mothers, daughters, sons, fathers, torn from their families in just an instant.
Their loved ones and friends sharing their photos with KSAT. Want to see just a few of them and remember them tonight. The Wilson family. They were last seen at the HTR Texas Hill Country Campground in Kurville. In a post made by the Humble Independent School District, Jeff Wilson is among those who died. He was a teacher at Kingwood High School, which is northeast of Houston. His wife Amber and son Shiloh are still missing, according to that post.
And then this other Facebook page confirms that a camp director, Jane Ragsdale, is dead. She worked at the Heart of Hills camp. The camp that we're talking about was not in session at the time of the flood.
Sarah Marsh from Mountain Brook, Alabama, confirmed by family Saturday morning on social media.
And then we have an update about the missing Zunker family. Tybee boys soccer coach Reese Zunker and his wife Paula were among those who died. The team announced that on Facebook Saturday night, and at last check, their 2 children are still missing. The family was reportedly swept away from their home over in the Hunt area.
They're from Kurville, went to Hunt just for vacation. 72-year-old Holly Frizzell confirmed to be among the dead by her daughter on Saturday. She was from Abilene, was visiting the Hill Country for the holiday weekend, and according to local media reports, she's greatly missed.
And then you have Lainey Landry, who is missing from Camp Mystic. That was a picture we were supposed to pop up, but we have an update on one of the Camp Mystic girls that were missing. 8-year-old Renee Simalstrala is among the 21 children who have died. This is news that was confirmed by her family. They confirmed this on Saturday, and we know that Renee was in Ingram.
Unfortunately, 2 more people reported to be in the HTR campground confirmed to be among the deceased, Bobby and Amanda Martin. The couple reportedly with Odessa police officer Bailey Martin and Jada Floyd, who are still among the missing. The devastation and destruction stretches as far as the eye can see at one RV park along the Guadalupe River in Ingram. Yet the owner of that park says she's doing her best to bring comfort to others.
Our Katrina Weber has that story from the Blue Oak RV Park and also tells us that it's serving as a home base for some of the first responders.
Unfortunately, there's not much of a home here anymore. The flooding took a heavy toll on this property, but this is a place where searchers can launch some of their heavy equipment and a place where they can take a load off at the end of the day. Water at least 30 feet high swept through the Blue Oak RV Park early Friday, and the owner, Lorena Guillen, says it came out of nowhere. She says the area was pristine only a few hours earlier. The floodwaters leveled several of her buildings and carried away numerous RVs, along with at least 4 guests who she considered family. One of the only things still standing is her Howdy's restaurant, and she's using it to help.
We focus on the work, we focus on the help, we focus on providing the rescuers what they need so they can keep doing their job. We're not stopping, and whenever we finish, then we'll process. But right now, we just need to keep going.
Crews here have been removing a lot of the debris that washed up here, including countless cars. In fact, Guillen told me she watched in horror as some of those cars floated by with people still inside, people who she now assumes are among the dead. One thing she did stress is the need for assistance for her and everyone affected by the flooding. She says they need that help sooner than later. At an earlier news conference, U.S. Senator Ted Cruz says that he's been in touch with the president, and the president has promised to, and this is a quote, send Texas whatever it needs. Reporting from Ingram, Katrina Weber, KSAT 12 News.
As the search continues, so do the questions. So here's one. When did officials know that the Guadalupe River was a threat to those who were camped along the banks? Also, how long did it take for resources and other help to arrive? KSAT Investigates is digging into the timeline. Up next.
Why don't we evacuate? Well, evacuation is a delicate balance, because if you evacuate too late, you then risk putting buses, or cars or vehicles or campers on roads into low water areas trying to get them out, which then can make it even more challenging because these flash floods happen very quickly.
That was Kurville City Manager Dalton Rice at today's media briefing on a question that's been asked and pondered numerous times. Why did camp and RV parks in areas like that evacuate? And could evacuations have been made before the Guadalupe River rose so high?
So we're looking into the steps that were taken to get people out of harm's way. Our case that investigates, Daniela Ibarra, is joining us with that. Okay, there are a lot of questions to sift through here, and you've made a lot of requests to basically piece all of this together. One of the biggest revelations was when the head of the State Department of Emergency Management said that his department had been in touch with leaders in Kerr County before the flooding. What have you heard about that?
Yeah, so he talked about that during his Friday night press briefing. And one of the things that he said, I wrote some notes here, is that he had been in contact with local officials the day before the flooding happened on July 4th. And he told us that he'd be happy to get us the email. So we went ahead and requested those emails just to see what the Texas Department of Division of Emergency Management actually told local officials leading up to that day.
What was the communication between them? Right, that's what you're trying to find out. Camp Mystic, that is a camp that has stood for almost 100 years. 27 campers and counselors have been confirmed dead so far. You're trying to find out what inspections showed about that particular camp, correct?
Right. We don't know what's in those inspections. I've never seen one of those inspections for myself, so I'm hoping once we get it, we can see if there was any, talks about any plans, any type of, drills that they've done for weather evacuations or just something along those lines that maybe could have helped in this case.
And because this is a tragedy that is spread out across different counties, right? You have to go through different forms of to really find out how those leaders were communicating. Could you kind of give us a list of the requests that you filed, who you're trying to get that information from?
Sure. So there's several people that we've asked information from. For sure, we filed requests with the Kerr County Sheriff's Office, with the City of Kurville, as well as the Texas Division of Emergency Management. I will tell you that in the last hour or so, we got notice of an emergency meeting that the City of Kurville is going to have tomorrow. That's the City Council. One of the items on that, it says that they're going to suspend, that Council's going to vote on suspending open records for 7 days. So usually, for those of you at home, it's a 10-day period that we file the request. 10 business days after that, they tell us yes, no, or if they want to fight that. This is giving them an extension, so we don't know when we might get those records.
Okay. Daniela, thank you.
And I do want to add one thing. I know there's been a lot of questions about, is this a time to do this? I know we have, a responsibility to do this. Of course, we're continuing to focus on the rescues, of course, telling the stories about the victims and then the challenges that people have in Kurville and along the Hill Country. But again, this is a responsibility that we have to report the facts, to give you context, and to see if there's any information that could have helped in this case, that could have saved some lives.
So that it doesn't happen again.
Right. So we can learn from this.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Even for other cities, not in the Hill Country.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you, Danielle.
Thank you.
All right. I was joking around with Adam Caskey earlier that it was nice he gave the forecast, and then we had a boom of thunder. I didn't know he came with his own sound effects, and we got hit downtown pretty good.
Yeah, we did. We picked up about a half an inch of rain in some parts of San Antonio, and we're going to expect more downpours as we get into tomorrow, mainly in the afternoon. About 3 p.m. to 9 p.m. So you look at a 30 radar at the moment, and a lot of what we have out there is short-lived, especially the newer showers, particularly here in Medina County, not far from Medina Lake Reservoir. These will be quick splash and dash up near New Braunfels, some downpours. This is not enough to cause flash flooding or even some flooding of the Guadalupe at the moment. This is most likely going to be short-lived, and by 9 o'clock, this action's done. We'll talk about tomorrow's rain chances in just a bit.
Welcome back, and thank you for staying with us here at KSAT. All right, so we're still talking about more rain. Adam, tell us what's in store for us.
Yeah, right now it's just isolated activity or widely scattered activity that should be pretty short-lived. Brief splash and dash showers and storms. What we had in Atascosa County is now quickly winding down with just one downpour left right over I-37 as you go from Kerr County into Atascosa County and western Wilson County, and then short-lived activity here in Medina County as well. Now, we're going to see another round of this. This is all going to end by 9-10 o'clock, but another round is likely tomorrow afternoon between about 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. As for overall rainfall totals so far from these downpours, this is just a good example of how, even though they're brief, how heavy they can be. Let's go right downtown. That was a brief downpour with that rumble of thunder last time we were on here earlier near Alamo Heights, 1.1 inches. Look at that. You have an inch. Let's get down into the neighborhood here. Just north of Lanier High School, just off of I-10 in Culebra. Look at this. 1.3 inches. It didn't rain for very long, but it dumped 1.3 inches on top of already saturated ground that if you get a couple of these downpours, then flash flooding and road flooding and street flooding could quickly become an issue. And of course, with our saturated waterways as well, we need to be careful and be cautious and be prepared for the potential of flooding. Now, I want to show you our rain chances for tomorrow. And notice how just a 20% chance of a few sprinkles and light showers tonight into tomorrow morning through noon. It's the downpours we worry about, and that becomes to 40% chance between 3 p.m. and 9 p.m. tomorrow. And then this is for the rest of the week and into the weekend. Notice we get a break by Thursday and Friday, sunny and dry. This weekend, isolated 20% chance of a few brief downpours, kind of like what we've been seeing. And then Monday, we boost it back up to 40%. People have been asking a little bit about the lakes. And yes, the reservoirs obviously are filling up a bit. Canyon Lake went from 46% full to now 62% full. Buchanan is already up to 78% full, a significant rise of 8.5 feet since July 4th. And Travis up to 64%, and that's up almost 20 feet since July 4th. So here's a look at our futurecast. Everything out there this evening simmering down. Again, 9-10 o'clock coming to an end. Typical diurnal action, as we call daytime heating, helps to fuel these thunder showers and pop-up downpours. Tomorrow through noon, pretty quiet. We'll get some sun that'll destabilize us, and then the downpours, they start to pop up again, and they'll be scattered in nature across our area. I do think, however, with the forcing, lesser odds of these downpours as you get into the hill country, lesser odds of that. And again, the time frame tomorrow, about 3 p.m. all the way to 9 p.m. Here's just a quick timeline of the events that unfolded July 4th, 5:10 a.m., 37-foot crest at Hunt. 6:45 a.m., 37-foot crest at Kurville, Center Point 21, and then Comfort at 11 a.m. And you see that timeline as that water went into the catcher's mitt, as we call it, of Canyon Lake. All right, we'll be back with a little bit more.
If you want to know ways to help in all this, on ksat.com, we have a list of collection drives and different ways to help.
So many different ways that you can pitch in and help people who really need it right now. In Kurville, we have Cross Kingdom Church, which is accepting monetary donations at their church, which is along Junction Highway. And Garrett Berger reported earlier in this newscast, the Salvation Army of Kurville, it's over on Hay Street, is also asking for donations and volunteers.
Yeah, here in San Antonio, Folklores Coffee House accepting physical donations at their locations on North New Braunfels and Michigan Avenue. To check out all the ways that you can help, scan the QR code on your screen now to see our full list on ksat.com. The list has been growing and changing. We continue to keep it updated. We'll be right back.
Spotty showers and downpours out there, mostly coming to an end around Bexar County. Just one downpour sneaking into southern Bexar County toward Elmendorf. That should be very short-lived. And up outside of New Braunfels, another downpour. These will be with us through the next couple of hours. We'll see you on the Night Beat.